and welcome to Viewpoint. I'm joined by Volodymyr Dubinko. He's a leading researcher at the Kharkiv Institute of Physics and Technology. Volodymyr, many thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. It's a good chance to say a little bit about scientific needs.
Absolutely, absolutely. And on that note, we are just about coming up to the one-year anniversary of Ukraine joining Horizon 2020. This is the European Union's multinational program of research and innovation. Tell us a little bit about your experience of being part of this program. Do you think it's been a good thing for Ukraine?
Oh yes, I think it's a great chance. Well, first of all, a few words about the program. It's a big funding. It's about 80 billion euros for 5 years, something like that. And of course, it's not just a charity to the scientists, because the European science faces numerous challenges itself concerning the competitiveness with US science and even with Eastern science. So they introduced this new possibility for scientists to apply for projects which are not limited with the interests of their policies, organization, etc. And now they invited Ukraine to join, and they give us the privilege of not paying the contribution, yeah? Because they hope that Ukrainian science has a potential. And sure we do. But to be competitive on that scale, of course, we have to understand the rules of this game.
What's been holding Ukraine back from being more competitive in comparison to other nations?
You mean in science?
In science.
Well, first of all...
sorry for interrupting you. It seems previously, perhaps in the Soviet era, we might have said that Ukraine was a leading nation in science, certainly stronger than it is now.
Yeah, probably, yeah. But on the same time, Soviet science, and Ukrainian science was as part of Soviet science, was a little bit separated from the world science because of some regulations. Well, you know, because of the policy, we were not free to go abroad, and the science, in principle, the science is the business of collaboration, of communication between the persons, and yeah. And in that days, the big problem was even for us to go abroad, to join the conferences, etc. And so there's been an internal potential, but the problem was to link it with the external potential.
And so now that's obviously a bit easier these days, still not completely without restrictions, of course.
Yeah, that's true.
But yet there's still work to be done.
Yeah, that's true. Now we are free to go anywhere, but as far as funding is concerned, you know, you have to pay for everything. And
there's no real funding at the moment from central government.
Yeah, that's true. It's scarcely enough to just to be alive in these times, and also the problem with the governmental funding is it's divided by the old guys, all with some mentality, and it's okay for some time, but now with this Horizon 2020, we at least have the possibility to apply for some additional funding, which is divided by jury, by experts from abroad who don't care about the who is who.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can bypass the Ukrainian national government, and you can simply go straight to the European Union and apply for funding.
Yeah. Well, speaking about my personal experience, 25 years ago, when the Soviet Union broke to parts, yes, and for instance, I was thinking about going abroad for good. And what came to me in Ukraine was actually George Soros, because George Soros then make a contribution kind of $100 million to former Soviet Union states, and organized an open competition for a 2-year project. Yes, and it wasn't a big money, but it was a big chance. It was a big chance to be in an open competition from the external jury. And well, I was lucky to have a good command of English and to express my ideas, and I was funded. And that was kept me actually in this stream because, okay, it was, for instance, $30,000. Yeah, not that much by the present time, but in those times, my salary was $10 per month.
Incredible.
So yeah. So, and now we have kind of the second chance of starting the same kind of a game. That's why I feel a little bit enthusiastic about this possibility. So, since I've got some friends in scientific communities in different countries, we organized some proposal, which is now is underway, let's say. Yeah?
This is for Horizon 2020 funding?
Yeah. Where 6 countries are willing to participate. 6 universities from 6 countries, let's say.
But in the long term, you know, you speak of your own experience of having funding from an external source. Horizon 2020 is a similar program. But long term, this is not really a good format, is it, for Ukraine? It needs to be able to generate its own funding for scientific research, if only to address its own national needs. For example, I know we were talking earlier about the need for Ukraine to increase its energy independence. It needs to find its own money for these programs.
Oh, yes, that's true. That's absolutely true. And of course, the Horizon program is a kind of a transition help, but I would say that it could be in principle a good help for those who will decide what to fund in future, because it's not that simple to understand among the many scientists who is good as who is not so good, and that's why we need to rely on those successful in this competition.
Yes, because you mean, I mean, the people who get funding from national sources are not always the best scientists.
Yes, absolutely.
I mean, the reasons they get the funding, not always on merit.
Absolutely, yeah. And in this way, to my mind, this aspect might be even more important than the money itself.
So what's it going to take then to change Ukrainian science? Because I would assume at the moment young Ukrainian scientists, they must be very tempted to simply go abroad.
Oh, yes.
As I'm sure you were, as you say you were at one point as well. So what would you like to see change to have these young scientists stay in the country?
Well, of course, we all hope to see the changes similar to that we see in the countries who joined the European Union before us, like in Baltic republics or in Poland, for instance. Yeah, I was very surprised 5 years ago going to Poland to see that dramatic changes in society as such, and in scientific society in particular. Their standards are the same now. And but of course it needs some will, because we need for instance to give chance to more young and more energetic, and to introduce first of all, to my mind, objective criteria which are used in the external science, in the European science side, like a citation, indices, taking part in these competitions. So
ultimately, Mr. Dubinko, I'm sorry, we're very short on time to interrupt you. Ultimately, that being said, are you optimistic ultimately?
Well, ultimately, I'm optimistic, but it's my problem. And so I hope that we can't help it but to join this direction. And the this possibility with Horizon is one of the good signs for us.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, on that note, Mr. Dubinko, I'm afraid that's where we'll have to leave it because we are out of time.
Okay.
But I'd like to thank you very much for coming to speak with us.
Oh, thank you.
You've been watching Viewpoint. I've been joined by Volodymyr Dubinko. He is a leading researcher at the Kharkiv Institute of Physics and Technology. That's all we have time for. Do join us again. Thanks for watching.